participation. We've got many people in the back that want to get on the stage and represent with us, and what she said, all right? So look, if you love hip-hop, make some noise up in here. I just want to check to see what the temperature is up in here. Now this has been going on since yesterday, and this lady quite obviously is into her painting and her thing and her art, and I'll be coming over here bothering her, but you have to introduce yourself to us. She's doing live painting.
So I'm Marissa Molina.
And what are you doing?
Yes, I am.
She's finishing it today. So wait a minute, so what is this? Wait a minute, what's going on here? Wait, sunglasses look like cassette tapes.
So yeah, I'm putting all these different elements. I like to show personality and energy, so I want to put hip-hop into this person. So yeah, she has cassette tapes, there's microphone, you'll see more details.
Right. Thank you. How y'all feel about that? You like that? All right, it's hip-hop. That's hip-hop. I have to remind you that we are celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, of course, and we have an amazing Queens Public Library card. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't gotten yours, you can get it in the lobby. It's done and designed by the Shirt Kings, legendary Shirt Kings out of Jamaica, Queens. Aerosol artists from the 70s and 80s. And they're still around, they're still doing it. They'll be at Rock the Bells tomorrow. They're doing something with LL. So big up to the Shirt Kings. Get your library card. We worked hard to get this done. You know, sometimes big institutions, you know, they don't quite get it when we start talking about certain things, but big up to all of the people that are here and that are part of that right there. And so I'm going to put together a little cheat sheet. So some people are here for archives. You might have photos, videos, clothing. Some people have been telling me they want to get it digitized. And you can do that in the lobby. If you have old flyers, old t-shirts, anything that you have, you can get it digitized. You can walk away with your own hard drive, and it'll be set up for you, because a lot of these things, this is what this is all about. Libraries, museums, and archives. We make sure that we document all of this, and this is going to be in a big capsule that's going to be represented for the Hip Hop 50th anniversary. So big up to our good friends at IMLS, the Institute of Museums, Libraries, and Services, who helped us put this together. So thank you to IMLS. Thank you to Amazon for helping support this project. This is a big deal. We're getting close to the end. August 11th is coming up, which is hip hop's birthday. But we're going to try to go all the way through November with the hip hop project. So we started in February. We have over 40 different partners and collaborators across the country, from Los Angeles to Las Vegas to Houston to Atlanta to Miami to Philly to right here in New York Public Library, Brooklyn Public Library. Wow, there's so many partners. It's too many to name. But today, this particular panel is put together by one of our partners, the Universal Hip Hop Museum. So big up to the Universal Hip Hop Museum that will be in the Bronx in 2024. So I'm just going to give you a little background on what this panel is about, hip hop's world impact. And for those who don't know, I've traveled around the world, many of us have, just because of hip hop, just because of my affiliation with my show Video Music Box, which is also celebrating 40 years. And if it wasn't for that, you know, I probably wouldn't have been in some of those places. And so hip hop is a worldwide phenomenon. It's been happening, people are making money, it's very successful, and it continues to break down barriers. And that's what this is about, pushing the culture forward, because it's not just about rap music, it's not just about Jay-Z and Eminem and the rappers, it's about the B-boys, it's about the graffiti artists, it's about all of the things that make up what hip-hop is all about, the dancers. Next year, 2024, breaking B-boying is going to be in the Olympics, which is amazing, right? And let me tell you, it's not just the kids from the Bronx or from New York City. The kids in China, the kids in Philippines, and the kids all over the world are amazing at this. So it's going to be a tough battle for the U.S. It's not going to be easy, because these kids have been studying what we've been doing right here in the birthplace of New York City for so many years, and that's what this is all about. Celebrating what we started right here in New York City, as Chuck Chillout says, in the Bronx. Big up to everybody from the Bronx. All right, so let me get this started. I think our panelists are here. And yeah, so this is about hip hop's worldwide impact. I'm going to bring our moderator out first, Rocky Buchanan, Executive Director of the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Hey, Rocky. Good morning. Good morning. I got people up early. I'm sorry. That's it, Bob. I have to get it in before you know, everybody else gets y'all. DJ Ted Smooth.
Yeah, is my mic on?
Ted was in the club last night and he made it.
Where do I sit? Anyway, let me sit next to Rocky. That means I'm safe.
All right. Tuma Basa, it's Director of Black Music and Culture at YouTube. Tuma came in on a plane this morning. Thank you, Tuma. Day-Twan Thomas, Editor-in-Chief, Vibe Magazine, Vice President of Culture Media, MRC. And we save the best for last. Whitney Gale Benda. Come on in, Whitney. Represent, you know, this lady here who's holding things down for so many years at MTV and still does some incredible things. And, not yet, Dr. Brandeis Marshall is in the building. I didn't see him, Brand. I thought he was with us twice in 2 days. Come on in. I think I got everybody in here, right? There's somebody that's missing that's late. Who's late? Oh, okay, I see. It's all right. We're going to get started, everybody. Big up to everybody checking in on Instagram right now. We are live on IG. So we're going to get started. Have a good time, everybody.
Thank you, Ralph. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Rocky Buchanan. I'm president of the Universal Hip Hop Museum. And we have a great panel here. These folks that you see on stage have, you know, a diverse background in publishing, streaming, music production, technology, publishing, and data science. So we're going to have a very interesting conversation about how, you know, we are celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, and this is what this is all about, this summit. And hip-hop has always been on the cutting edge of technology from the very beginning when it started with Chuck Chill Out and all these other guys from the Bronx that was cutting and scratching, taking the turntable and making that an instrument. But beyond that, today, 50 years later, technology is being used by all different methods for amplification, for notoriety, for consumption, for publishing, and for profit. And we're going to get into some of the upside of using technology and some of the downside that technology has caused, including the emergence of AI. So before we get into the conversation today, we're going to introduce our panel, and we're going to get to know a little bit about them, and then we're going to have a conversation about where we are today and where we will be going over the next 50 years. So starting to my immediate left, DJ Ted Smooth. What up, Ted?
What's going on, Rocky? What's up, y'all? How you doing?
So Ted Smooth, if everyone doesn't know, he is a prolific DJ, music producer, production engineer. He does it all. He's known as the blend master right now because his blends are killing it on radio. You can hear him on the block every Friday night at 10 p.m.
The block, baby. We're outside.
And, you know, he's overall just, you know, really good human being. I've got to know Ted over the last couple of years. We've done a couple of things together, and Ted is just a special person. So give it up for Ted Smooth. Next, we have the master of streaming. We have Tuma Basa. He's director of Black Music and Culture. As director of Black Music and Culture at YouTube, Tuma Basa is responsible for leading activities that draw on his deep industry connections and expertise in programming to increase YouTube's engagement with the culture. He is also focused on helping artists and labels get the full benefit of YouTube's direct-to-fan tools through through product and education. Prior to joining YouTube, he was basically the head of hip-hop over at Spotify. And he was basically the curator, creating all the amazing playlists and helping Spotify really build out their streaming platform. And he's been in the music game for many, many years, working at BET and MTV. And the brother is from Rwanda. And he went to school here in the US, and he's a Hawkeye at the University of Iowa. Yes. Give it up for two ambassadors. My brother, Daytwan Thomas, how are you?
Doing well. What's up, y'all?
All right. So, Brother Daytwan is the editor-in-chief of Vibe magazine. He's the vice president of cultural media for Penske Media Corporation. And Daytwan has been all over the place in publishing. From XXL magazine to Rise magazine. And he's done so much in the publishing game and continues to do that. He worked for Sean Diddy Combs as editor-in-chief of Hooked. And he has also been in television, working with Dick Clark Productions, BET, and MTV. He is one of those brothers that knows the publishing game inside out, I would say. Give it up for Daytwan Thomas. Right. Hold on, let me bring up the amazing women over here. 1 second. The pros and the cons of technology. There you go. So over to my far left next to Daytwan, we have Whitney Gale Benter. She's the Chief Music Officer of a new platform called Jukebox. She's been in the music industry for over 20 years, working at companies like Def Jam and Revolt TV and MTV. She is really leading the way in new technology to help artists find new ways to monetize their catalog. And, you know, I was on the panel with Whitney a couple weeks ago at CNBC, and I got to know her. She's truly special. Give it up for Whitney Gale Benter. And we have Dr. Brandeis Marshall. She is a data expert. She is the founder of Data edX, and she is a data scientist. You guys don't know what that is, you're going to learn about it tonight. She is also the founder of Women in Data, and she also was a former professor at Spelman College. Give it up for Dr. Black women in data.
Black women in data.
Black women in data. Let's get that right. So, hip-hop turns 50. And we're going to start with you, Dr. Brandeis. I'm going to come back this way.
Okay, let's go.
How can people understand what data is and how data can be beneficial as well as detrimental? And how do we keep control of the data that we're sharing all over our social media platforms?
Okay, those are 3 questions. That's okay.
We're gonna speed it up today.
Yeah, it's gonna get right there. We're gonna jump right in. Okay, so this is what I believe. Data is us. We are the data. Nothing that happens can happen without us giving up our information. So there is no separation for me of what data is and what we are. It's just a matter of how is the information that we give interpreted. And that is what AI is. AI is trying to predict what your next move is going to be. Okay, so hopefully that answers the first 2 questions.
Yep.
Now, the third question of how do we control it, I think this is what this panel is going to be about, is how do flip it, remix it, twist it, so that it's for our benefit and it's not just extracting from us. Right? So how do we stay ahead of the curve? Because we already know, especially as Black people, that we are the innovation. We're the pioneers of so much in every industry. So when it comes to how do we control AI, is that we hold back a little bit. We don't provide all of our sauce and our seasoning. We keep some of that stuff for ourselves. Right? And that can happen in places like trademarking, like making sure that independent artists keep hold of all their masters. But we have to, as a people, start to think collectively about how we maintain our flavor and maintain our sauce. But I'll leave it up to the rest of the panel, because y'all in this industry.
Yeah, so controlling our own data seems like that would be the ultimate goal, but to me it just seems like we give away our data so freely. Because, we give it to Spotify, we give it to YouTube, we give it to Google, we give it to Microsoft. Every time we register, we're giving our data away. So, Tuma, coming right to you. As one of the chief architects of what YouTube is doing with fan engagement and user experiences, what are the benefits of using YouTube's platform? How do we, as consumers and users of your platform, really understand how do we control what we're watching? I know YouTube is, promoting, today's pop music, pop artists, pop this, pop that. But where's the control factor for the people that are using the platform?
Oh, that's a good question. Boy, first of all, I'm one of the chief architects where I work there, and I'm in the mix like that. But a few things. You said the first part, amplification. You said that earlier. So amplifying, and that's the no-brainer part. You see people getting famous. You know what I mean? We see people promoting themselves, creating whole shows. But the second part, which I think is just not more important, is the monetization. Is that you're actually making money off of on YouTube, that you're fully leaning in, and that more of those millionaires we see in headlines from YouTube, etc., not just look like us, but come from our culture, and who are serving, right? Because that means they're going to give back. So the monetization part. Other part is being strategic. Utilizing all the different products, understanding what works for your benefit, what is a waste of time in terms of your specific needs. So there's the release strategy and utilizing the products. And then the fourth part, which I'm taking my company hat off, is cross-pollinating the entire web, not just being one platform, right? We're going to tell you just stay on one platform. But the reality is, it's beneficial to you to leverage whatever motion you have, let's say on YouTube, to other places as well. And just like the records, you don't want to be a one-hit wonder, or, you know what I mean? Or one-trick pony or whatever. You want to diversify. That protects you. And you may find other audiences in other places, based on that migration of your YouTube audience, or etc. So that part there is unofficial. That's just for us. Yeah, that's just for us.
So, thank you, Tuma. Whitney.
Yes.
You're creating something entirely new, and I'm not going to even try to explain what you do. I'm going to let you do that. But what is Jukebox?
Okay. So as we're talking about technology and being on the forefront, I've been in music for such a long time. Worked with Tuma for 3 different companies now, and so this was an opportunity for me to be a part of a company that's really going to be transformative when it comes to allowing retail investors, which are us as customers, as well as fans, to be able to buy and sell shares of artist song royalties.
So if you think about it, for so long, we've been going to the club, going to concerts, you know, and listening to our favorite songs, but we haven't been able to benefit from it. And so up until this point, the only people that have been able to benefit from music, which is a stable asset, have been multinational corporations, record labels, and private equity firms. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking, if you look at it and say, if you put Spotify and Robinhood together and they had a baby, that would be Jukebox. So when you're going to the club and you're listening to your favorite song, you can also say, or on TikTok or whatever, you know, means to consume, you can say, you know what, I want to be able to invest in my favorite song, or this song is going viral. And so this is going to be an opportunity for us to be able to create generational wealth. For me, one thing that was really interesting for me is because as a person of color, I'm like, we don't have opportunities to really monetize the music that we're consuming. And so when you think about hip hop, it's really about, we've been such rabid fans of artists from, you know, talk about Melly Mel to Nelly to, you know, Roxanne Shante or Nicki Minaj. So imagine being able to invest in the artists that you love, that you've already been buying tickets to their concerts, you've already been buying their merch, you've been, you know, been their #1 fan, and you can actually now be able to benefit from it. So it is a very complicated and a new business model, but I think it's going to be able to revolutionize music not only for the artists, but as well as customers, which are our fans, to be able to benefit and really truly show their fandom and actually be able to make money from it.
Thank you, Whitney. Daquan.
Yes, yes.
You know, as the editor-in-chief over at Vibe, the magazine business has changed. Drastically. Crazy. Tell us what happened, and where's publishing today?
What happened? I'm telling you, it's like, we just said, where do we start on that? I would say things started to turn around like maybe 08. 09, around that time. We just seen tremendous growth in the 2000s. And if you notice, like, trends are usually preceded by something that's falling. So when we started to see the demise of like hip-hop fashion brands, they started to consolidate and go under bigger brands, and then next thing you know, you don't have a Mecca or a DJ anymore. Those ads are going away that targeted our audience in hip-hop. When the rims for the cars and everything, that whole trend, I kind of want to blame Jay-Z for that, but I'm not going to do that. But, you know, like when those type of industries that are so huge, when they start to kind of like go on a downturn and the economics of the country start to change with, you know, deficits and all of those different things, it impacts entertainment. You know, so we're entertainment a lot of times. We're that thing that, you know, if you just want to get away for a little bit, you grab a magazine, or you go to the movies, or those type of things. And those things aren't recession-proof all the time. You know, so I feel like the ad market that was targeting the magazine industry, that kind of failed, and it all switched over to digital. You know, and even though you may think that it's transferable in that way, it really isn't, because everyone didn't have access to the internet in the same way, the same kind of bandwidth to be able to, you know, access it and get those flashy sites and all of that stuff. I think the one thing that has increased, though, is the digital presence of hip-hop, because now it can spread a lot further. But you don't necessarily have the investments from some of those brands to say, hey, I'm going to plot down millions and millions of dollars on, you know, artists that might be a little bit fickle, you know. So I think the one thing that did help in this whole thing is the fact that we didn't need the brands. Now it's just people saying, we're the brand. I'm the thing you invest in, not just the music. You know, it's the lifestyle and all that stuff. So magazines had to kind of go away for a little bit, and everyone had to rethink, how do you say, you know, I'm gonna use Nelly. How do you say Nelly's dope? How do you say Lil Uzi is dope? You don't say it anymore. You got like the people are choosing that now. Now we're rolling with like what the people like. So there's a lot of different things that the magazine industry, especially like content creators for it, have to be dialed into. But the money is the main thing that kind of kept us out of the game to be able to print and stuff like that.
Thank you. Ted Smooth, what's good? So, you've been DJing, producing for quite a while, doing a lot of remixing. Tell us how technology has either helped or hurt where DJs are today.
Let's get into the long part of the show. Now I'll try to make it quick. Well, technology, as far as the way I use it, and coming from the vinyl days, right, to early 80s, technology, I'll put it like this. For the DJs that are real DJs, that are good DJs, right, technology was an asset because number one, you don't gotta lug 4 or 5 crates of records all around, especially like you can breed 20 crates of records on the road. That's ridiculous. So now it's a benefit for your physical, and it allows you to get to your music a lot faster. Like with Serato, like instead of taking a record off, putting it back, grabbing another one, putting it on, put the needle on. Now you just click it on a computer and it goes right there, right? So it gives that advantage. The disadvantage is that if you don't know anything about music, you don't know, you're not a good DJ. Let's just say you can just literally buy a laptop. Buy some music off of any platform or from your friend, and you then think that you're a DJ, right? And you put yourself out there through Instagram, through social media, and you say, hey, I'm a DJ. Like, so the general public, they look at the real DJ and the DJ that's not really good, and they say, oh, it's the same thing. Let's not book this guy for 2,000. Let's book him for 100, and we're getting the same thing. And they quickly find out that it's not the same thing. So that is the disadvantage. Like I always say, just if you needed heart surgery, right? I think you want heart surgery from the doctor that has 40 years experience. You're not gonna get this new guy that bought a stethoscope and put on a white jacket. Like who are you gonna pick? You're gonna pick the one with experience. So it's the same thing as DJing. Like DJing is a real job. Like people think that this is just like a hobby and it's like fun. No, it's a real job just like any other job. So technology can go against you, but if you use it correctly, it can be advantageous.
Yep. Thank you. I've been around hip hop since the very beginning. I've seen it from when we were out in the parks to where we are today, and every 5 or 10 years you can see a shift in how technology is changing. Even with the tools that we use, so from turntables, then it became the cassettes and the boom boxes, then the CD players, the Walkmans, then the iPods, and now it just seems like we're coming. How do we control the messaging and the content so that, there's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's a lot of bad stuff out there. And yes, it's like, just turn the dial, but you can't turn the dial no more because it's streaming, it's algorithms. It's a different way of measuring what you receive. And a lot of that has to do with data. And what you're clicking on, what you're liking, what you're not liking, because the systems have learned to basically follow you and push content that they feel you're interested in, not necessarily what you want. So how do we control the use of this message so that we get more of the stuff that we really want, not what's just being pushed upon us? And I'll start with you, Dr. Brandeis.
Yeah, this is my question. So I think that there's 3 key questions that everyone has to ask themselves, right, when you are looking at content online. So first, is it relevant? Because sometimes what you're looking at is not relevant. And there's services where it's just a random person talking. Like what DJ just said, like just some random person playing music on a turntable. You're like, who is this dude or who is this girl, right? The second question is it useful? And that means that you do have to do some vetting because you have to know if that's what you're looking for, right? It's like when you are trying to figure out if that bump is something you need to go to the doctor for, you go on WebMD, but then you see a bunch of different choices and then you have to really look at the symptoms and really try to figure out if you want to go to the doctor and spend that copay to figure out if it's something serious, right? So is it useful?
That's me sometimes.
That's all of us every day, right? So is it useful? And then the third one is it trustworthy? And that's to your direct question. How do you figure out trustworthiness? And that means that we have to understand that AI right now is something that's come about that's making us not know what's real and what's fake. That's the turning point that happened this, 2-3 years. So that means that we cannot just rely on all the AI generated content because there is a lot of noise. We now have to be more like investigators in understanding whether or not something that we're looking at is trustworthy. That means we have to do additional research. We have to do another search query. We have to talk to people. I think that art of talking to actual people is lost. And I'm hoping that when it comes to this iteration of AI, that we are starting to go back to the roots of actually talking to each other. Because that is what is going to make it so that we control the AI. Because if we just give up to the machines, understand that machine is a 0 and a 1. It doesn't have a soul, but we have souls. That's why I'm wearing this shirt, un-AIable, because that's what I am. That's what all of us are. Un-AIable. Right.
That's a t-shirt. Tuma, same question.
Well, I'm very AIable, FYI. And I'll tell you why. Because the thing is this. This is the thing, is you're talking about hip-hop being innovative, etc. Hip-hop has turned 50 years old. And something that happens with age, something that happens with success and comfort as well, is the risks stop being taken and the innovation that the way we embrace innovation changes, right? Especially if you went through some bad times. But what happens is, for me, AI is going to create so many opportunities. Like this is how I look at it. So many opportunities, especially for people who are not in cities like New York City or London or LA or Atlanta. It's going to decentralize a lot of that power, a lot of the economics. This is what I think. This is somebody who lived in places like Iowa City, Iowa, and Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, where you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. You know what I mean? You have to relocate to a place like New York to even have a little bit of a chance. And even when you get to a place like New York, there's 1 million people. So for me, I look at AI as an opportunity for a lot of the people who don't have a chance. But the only way it's going to happen is if we look at it the same way we looked at like a spray can or a vinyl or the turntables. You know, and like you said it, so I'm not contradicting you. And we flip it and remix it, etc. So I'd rather take an offensive approach to AI than a defensive approach, because the risk of kind of being Amish. You know how Amish people don't use cars and don't use, you know what I mean? I'm exaggerating.
Well, they do.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating. But that's like a ticket into the future. And the same way so many apps have, like, when I first moved to New York, people used to talk about if you were a black man, you couldn't get a cab. And I moved here and I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like, this is real. Like, this guy just turned off his light right before, then when it passed by, he turned his light back on, etc. Then you got innovations like Uber and all that stuff that made it more difficult, like, to discriminate. So, I'm more hopeful that things, the opportunities or inequalities or whatever kind of get leveled out.
Well, I have to just chime in real quick, son.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
Give it up for Tuma, the first Amish DJ. Give it up for Tuma.
I will say that I am not pessimistic. I just consider myself a realist. There is opportunities and obstacles at the same time. There is problems and there is, of course, possibilities at the same time. All I am saying is that as a people, as we look at these systems, what's baked into the system is racism and sexism. And so we have to understand that that is part of the system. That is the systemic oppression that is in this country. And it is being reflected within the technical infrastructure that we deal with. So all I'm saying is that we need to recognize it. And that we need to know that it's there. And that we now need to know how to chuck and jive it. I'm not saying that I am against AI. All I'm saying is that AI needs us. We don't need AI. There's opportunity for people from different locations in order to find their community. And I think that's the beautiful part of AI. But also realize that AI has been weaponized against us as Black people. And so I just want to make sure that it's very clear that I just really want us to understand both sides of the coin.
Right. I think it's also one of the things of figuring out, like, what is AI and how are we all talking about it? Because the way that Tuma's talking about it is different from the doctor, but it's also very similar. And then when you strike the prism a little bit more, you realize, like, we just did a story with the DOC, you know, the legendary rapper who lost his voice in a car accident, and his whole career was derailed. He had a legendary classic first album, and now he's like, with the advent of AI, all his raps are still there because he wrote everybody's rhymes. He did NWA joints and Eazy-E and Dr. Dre's, and he's like, that's still there. I want to be able to have a chance to have my voice heard, and his voice can be recreated with AI. And the same thing with Beanie Siegel. Beanie Siegel had gone through some health complications, and now he's like, yo, I can get my voice back because the rhymes are there. So when we think of AI in that aspect, we're like, oh, it affects hip-hop in that way. In such a positive way. But then you're also saying about the racism aspect that's built in to what AI is starting to draw from, and ChatGPT and all that stuff. So ChatGPT. So it's like, however you're looking at it, the control aspect is going to be us being able to say, this is cool, this isn't, and we need to regulate this. We have to jump in at some point and say, where are the boundaries? We don't want to constrict, but we also don't want to inflate, you know, with some of the biases that's going on within American and world culture.
Let me touch in on this, Rocky. Go ahead, brother. So, just like anything in life, there's pros and there's cons, right? Because we are different and we all see the same thing differently. The doctor said, we are AI, right? And another way to explain that is, if we don't participate in our culture, if we don't participate in the things that we create, the only vision is going to be the AI vision, right?
That's right.
So Rocky knows, you know, I've been doing my community events, old school jams, roller skate jam. We got the block party coming up next Thursday for over 20 years, right? And my perfect example, my daughter just turned 19. She was at the concert I did yesterday, a freestyle concert, freestyle music. Not only did she know some of the music, and people were like, you're 19, how do you know? Daytona, my daughter, since she could walk, has been in my events, on my shoulders. I'm DJing on my shoulders. I'm making her participate in that, right? So if I want to do an old school jam, where's the reference point? Right? So, like you said, AI is going to predict, and we have to continue to participate feed into that timeline, right? I posted on my Instagram about 2 months ago. I wonder what we're gonna do year 51, right? Because everything is good now. Everything, there's funding, there's everything. But what are we gonna, and I'm glad that it's happening because it feels good, right? It feels good, all these events. All of these things happening is like it's great, and people are getting to learn. The kids are getting to learn and see. Oh, this is the real thing. What are we doing here at 51? I know I'm gonna be here participating. You feel me? So that's kind of what another take on what the doctor said. Like, if we don't participate, we're not in the algorithm.
Yeah.
Rocky, can I talk about year 51? And then we're going to okay, because so I remember my history teacher saying we study history because no empire is immortal, right? That's why we study history so we for mortality. So we have reference points. We use the word reference points, and we've seen empires, we've seen genre, cultural dominance, we've seen rock and roll, we've seen jazz, we've seen the Roman Empire, we've seen Greek. We got the alphabet from the Romans, and we got math from Ottoman Empire. I don't know, I'm making that up.
Actually, it was Africa.
It's Africa, yeah.
That was AI at its finest. It was made up.
Alright. So, year 51. Hip-hop is the dominant culture, hip-hop is the culture, etc., is embracing whatever has become. Just like fresh, just like 1973, it's literally to re-up. So year 51 becomes the year of the re-up, right?
Amen.
The wave or the tools that are presenting themselves are the possible. I don't know what's wrong. Go ahead.
What I was saying.
You know what I'm saying.
I think everybody was making really great points about AI. Just to piggyback on what you were saying in terms of the use of it, is we have to use discernment too when it comes to giving our data away. And I think that was super important. A lot of times we sign on to apps or websites, we're not reading the fine print. We're not reading the fine print. And I think that's super important, especially when you're thinking about giving your data away. A lot of times we think it's a new app, but we're not sure what that actual information is that we're giving away. And I think as we're moving in towards some technology, we have to really use discernment and making sure that we're working with companies. So like even with Jukebox, there's a lot of other companies that are building these in stock markets. But some of them are doing it the right way, some of them are not. So for example, with Jukebox, we're SEC regulated to make sure that each individual song is individually IPO'd with the SEC. So then that way, if we go out of business, your stock, the same way Tesla, Google, Apple, or Microsoft is still good, you want to make sure that when you're working with these companies or giving your information to these technology companies, apps, that you're protected. So I think we also need to do a better job as consumers, making sure that don't just sign on to anything. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people wait for the iOS to work out the bugs. Like wait to see what's it about. We all jumped on the trends for Threads and for Spill, but do we really know what it's about? Like none of us are really taking a minute to be like, hey, do I even want to even have this in my wallet? So I think that's also the responsibility of us as consumers to make sure that we're like, do I even want to engage with this?
Thank you. From a show of hands out there, we've been talking a little bit about technology. How many people know what AI is? Raise your hand. Okay, that's pretty good. How many people are afraid of AI? Raise your hand. Okay, and how many people think that AI is good? Raise your hand. All right, not too many. But there are some people out there that think it's good. All right, so before we get to some questions from the audience, what is the biggest opportunity in your particular line of work right now? Where do you see the biggest opportunities going forward in your line of work? Starting with you, Ted.
Say that question again, the echo is killing me.
What's the biggest opportunity in your line of work?
Well, yeah, the biggest opportunity is expanding my brand, right? Like doing, like, if you say, you know, to my left, you know, it's DJ Ted Smooth, it's like maybe 1, 2 little claps. But if you say, Ted Smooth, straight face, you remember? It's like, oh, now we know who he is. So it's like, you know, tying in those two things and feeding that to the world, to AI, to all the algorithms, so that my name becomes synonymous with my face, which is always great for business. I think that's always going to be a point of interest for me. And I'm going to utilize the tools, whatever they are, especially if they're free. You know?
Tuma, for me the biggest opportunity is the world getting smaller, and there's something called globalization that they're talking about right now that's happening, where like music, local styles like Ghanaian drill music from Ghana or Turkish rap, or you know what I mean, Afro trap out of French-speaking African countries, or the Mexican regional cartel music right now that's popping. Right now, it's really popping actually. So for me, the world getting smaller is the biggest opportunity. And you were talking about that article. I read another article. It was a billboard about a Korean artist who used generative AI. His song in Korean, he put it out in 6 languages. So that. So this guy does a song in Korean. He uses his generative AI. He puts it out in English with correct pronunciation. The correct pronunciation is very important. French, Arabic, Spanish. I don't know if Mandarin was one of the languages. I'm just making up the languages. But basically, the remix with the same exact voice, same exact words, right? Maybe it didn't rhyme in some of the languages. The same exact mix with the beat, same exact song, but in different languages. And he didn't have to do anything but sing it in his authentic vernacular of Korean, right? When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh.
Game changer.
When I was trying to rap in Zimbabwe, maybe I would have been big in China. Like, you know, all you need to sell is a million records. You know what I mean? Like, you remember the Jim Serious Jones line? I was like, oh, just imagine what could have happened. Instead of chasing what was happening here in the US or whatever, I was like, whoa. So for me, all these tools that are helping the world get smaller, and this thing that they're calling globalization, where what's happening in Long Island City or Astoria, just on your block, your slang, how you get sturdy or whatever you call it, right? Is the way we're seeing social media spread it. Like now it's even becoming even more because the tools are enabling you to reach people that you had not just geographical barriers or cultural barriers, linguistic barriers even. You know what I mean? So for me, that's the biggest opportunity. That kind of globalization that's happening right now.
Thank you so much.
That's what's up. I second that, as well as like for publications that now have to pivot from like what they previously were. I'm talking like from radio to everything else. For us in particular at Vibe, this is our 30th anniversary, 2023.
You just ain't gonna say that.
Yo, nice guy, coming out there. It's 30 years, that's 30 years of covering hip hop. And if hip hop is 50, that extra 20 we can go ahead and grab from the people that we respect and find out. But to actually have like this tactile, content, the past, the present, and the future for us to be able to like bring it all together and educate so we can power the AI and info systems in the right way. I think that's the biggest opportunity that we have to be able to course correct some of the things that people might find on TikTok that's not factual. Some of the things that's on other social platforms that's not factual. You actually can go back and say, hey, this publication or this brand has the truth, and here it is in black and white. So just being able to have multiple platform options to get that kind of information out, that's the biggest opportunity for us going forward.
Whitney?
The biggest opportunity in my industry is twofold. I'm looking at it from the consumer side of things, and for me it's creating generational wealth for black and brown people. You know, we're consuming music non-stop, whether it's through streaming, like I said, going to clubs, concerts, and things of that nature. And so it's an opportunity to really be able to teach financial wealth through a means that we all understand and that we enjoy, because music is an emotion and it's something that we all gravitate and connect to. So imagine being able to make sure that black and brown people can generate wealth through a means that they actually love. So there's the opportunity there. And then from the artist perspective, what I'm really excited about is that we're seeing that catalog is outperforming, you know, the music of today. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, I've been watching Spotify's R&B playlist, and Miguel's Short Thing has been there for like the last 15 weeks between number 3 spot to number 5 spot, and the record came out in 2011. So just that's evidence that, you know, one example that catalog is outperforming the music of today. And so this is an opportunity to create second life to music, and also be able to also put money in artists' pockets. So when I think about like our hip hop legends, who are like may not necessarily be balling out like Jay-Z, by creating this music stock market for the people that are their engaged fans, they'll be able to buy shares in the music of these artists and be able to help put money in their pockets. So I'm really excited about the fact that it is going to help not only on the consumer side, but also in the artist side.
Dr. Marshall?
As the person that's not in the music industry, I think for me, the biggest gain is how data is connecting different disciplines like never before. I mean, 50 years ago, a data geek like me would probably never be on this stage, right? Because I love math, I do some coding, I teach. So I'm not someone that is going to be at a turntable. I'm not someone that's going to be dropping lyrics because y'all don't want to hear me sing. Not at all. Y'all don't want to hear me rap. Y'all don't want to hear none of that from me. I can dance a little bit though, but that's it, right? But I think that data is a unifier in a way that it helps us have these conversations. And to all the points from the panelists, like, you're able to now connect with people in different countries. You're able to now hear different musics, blend different styles, do it in different language, and this is all because of data. And I think that is the beauty opportunity of today, is that we can now talk about a topic that is supposedly dry and boring, of numbers and content or assets or media, however you want to say the word data. We can talk about it in a way that everyone can understand, and then we can spur more conversations, right? So I think that's the opportunity that we have now.
Thank you. Before I give them the last question, we have two microphones, one on the stage right, one on the stage left. If you guys have questions that you want to ask our panel, please come to the microphone and I'll come to you. So the last question from me to you guys, here it is, we are at 50 years old, hip-hop has turned 50 next week. Where do you see hip-hop going into the future, Ted?
Well, I just know it ain't going nowhere. That's all I care about. As long as it don't go nowhere, it can go wherever it wants. Like the generation, like, I mean, I was there when my mother was saying, you playing that garbage. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's that noise? Like, I was there as a kid DJing in the house, waking up the whole house at 8 in the morning, and it's like it's still here, and it definitely ain't going nowhere. There's no limits to where hip hop is gonna go. but we have to stay engaged. We have to continue to participate physically. I know Daytona like physical, right? We have to physically stay in tune, because if we don't push the culture, just like anything else, we're gonna let somebody else tell it, and we can't have that.
Tuma. Yeah, I'm not as optimistic. I believe hip hop will start fragmenting. You're already seeing signs of generation gaps. You're seeing oversaturation. There's too much music out there right now. Everyone's an artist. You know what I mean? So I think there's gonna be fragmentation. So like Yugoslavia was one country a long time ago, then it turned into like Croatia, Macedonia, Serbia, Bosnia, and all things. So I think hip hop will, we're gonna start seeing the descendants of hip hop rise and catch up as well. We're already seeing a few signs. So the thing is this, so the only way, in terms of flipping my lack of optimism, in terms of that fragmentation, is if there's like a leadership that tries to bring it all together, and it's all about the purpose, the people, and the culture, and not all, you know what I mean? All this different, everyone chasing the bag.
That's what's up.
Daytona.
Most Def, aka Yasin Bey, he once said, wherever the people are, hip hop will be there. You know what I mean? And I think like wherever we are as a people, outside of just like the music and the culture, that's what's going to fuel what the product of hip hop is as well. Of course, we're going to have a ton of whack stuff. We had whack stuff since the beginning of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And like if you listen to any of the early 80s, late 70s, they're talking about whack MCs all day. You whack the sucker and all types of stuff. But what I feel is that, you know, as time progresses and the youth, they start to embrace all the different things that we don't even know about yet, and the things that they're going to create. I think hip-hop forms itself. It's the only genre, I feel, that forms itself around whatever's happening now. You know, a lot of the other genres, they're steep in tradition. Hip-hop, a lot of times, kicks tradition, but we need to be able to say, like, this is important. You know, the messages that come from people that are underprivileged, the messages that comes from the ballers, all of it is important. And I think that's where hip hop will be in the future, wherever the people are.
Whitney.
Yeah, I want to approach this question from a different angle and talk about what I see executive side. Because I think because of technology, I think it's bridging the gap between the generations. There's been a time before where it was kind of like there was one regime, and then they kind of graduate themselves out, and then this next generation. While that still exists, I think as a result of technology, we're seeing the two generations are still being able to coexist now, and that the executives of now realize you have to embrace technology and are also relying on the youth instead of saying like you don't know what you're talking about. So I feel like yesterday's intern could also be tomorrow's executive. And so I think that is actually going to be something that's going to be super helpful to make the industry continue to grow. One of the things that I've always said, I have a friend of mine who has a son who graduated from NYU, and I said to his son, like, I want you to be my boss one day. And he was like, what? He said, should it be the other way around? And I said, normally yes, because of tradition. I said, but what it is you have youth on your side. I have experience. So we can blend those together, and I can help you understand where the potholes are so that you don't make the same mistakes as the other generations. We would be unstoppable. You know, and if you think about it, that's essentially what like Puff and Andre did. You know what I mean? So I think that with the help of technology, we're going to really see, at least from the music industry side of things, from the business side of things, us really being able to grow in a bigger way.
Dr. Marshall.
I feel that. That's good. Sorry, I was reflecting on what you were saying. So I see the future of hip hop. It's a hard question because I do see a hip hop digital language forming. I do see a connection between the past and the future happening so that we don't lose any of our stories. I see the power of technology helping us to document our history in hip hop in a way that can't be erased or whitewashed or eroded or set aside or marginalized, because there's so many hip-hop legends, like even yesterday, that were here that I had never heard of before. And I was just like, oh, okay, this needs to be documented, needs to be archived. And then how is that then going to help the future generations then be able to take and then flip it and remix it as well? So I just see that there's going to be a blossoming of language that's going to come out of hip-hop in our future, that's going to just pay homage to the past, be in the present, and then be able to look to the future in ways that we can't even imagine.
Thank you for that, Dr. Marshall. Let's go to our audience, starting over here with the young lady over here.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tamara. First, I want to say thank you all for your wisdom, and thank you for shedding light on AI a bit more, because when you ask the question, I kind of went like this, because like I hear about it, but I don't really know. And from what I see is people like making comedy or like just taking people's voices and putting it on things. So, but thank you for sharing like the positive and the optimistic side of it. And also for saying that we need to be engaged and be in it physically. And because if we're not, then it's just going to be fake.
Short answer, yes. And I think to the earlier question about what happens to hip hop at 51 and 52 and 53 and 54, I think this summit has been a great launching pad for what could be next, because there's a lot of what to do, but the real meat of it that I'm interested in is in the how. And that means there's going to be workshops. I've been an educator for 23 years, so I can put together a workshop with a video, right? And how to then partner with those in hip hop to say, how can I help you translate what you want to say into a curriculum or a module to help people that want to get into the game? I think that would be a great collaboration. That's what I love to do, right? I might be standing there just dancing around because I can't do any other stuff, but I think those type of collaborations is what would be helpful for year 51 and beyond for hip hop.
So we're launching officially on September 12th. We're starting immediately with catalog, with older catalogs, because that performs. So we will get to a point, I would say, in 2004 where they'll be able to list songs that haven't come out yet, or newer music. But right now, the reason why we're working with catalog is because there's something called a decay curve, which usually happens over a 10-year period. So then you can then be able to tell the stabilization of an asset, a music asset. So, and you can be able to tell where it generates. So essentially what I'm saying is not just yet, but you will be able to.
In September.
Well, we launched Coolpix in September, actually, but yes.
And did you get my information for a feature artist?
Oh, me?
No, I was just playing with you. Hey, my niece graduated from Spelman. I gotta take a picture with you. She's the first doctor in our family. Family medicine. Single mom too. Anyway.
Thank you. So we have about 5 more minutes, so let's speed up the questions if you can, for the people that are asking questions. And panelists, if we can keep the answers short, okay? Young man.
How you doing? I don't have a question. I just want to kind of introduce myself. My name is Prince Master Bombs, Miss MC Melody, and I'm the first rapper. I've been rapping since 1974. When I began rapping, there was no rap, it was rock the mic, it was on a rhyme. I have receipts, you know what I mean? If Shantae was here, if DMC was here. I'm from Queens, that's where I was cracked in my heart. 11 years old, April 14, 1974. April 15, 1974, Easter Monday is the day my brother was killed and resuscitated. That's when I took up hip hop. When I first started, I still have a real to real. And everybody was telling me that, hey, you know, like, they're not ready for this, they're not ready for this. I chose Mr. MC Melody because I didn't want to be, I didn't want to do, yeah, boy, I don't want to talk like that, yeah, you know what I mean? I wanted my mom to be mellow. I want people to smoke their weed, bob their head, and rock out and dance with my little issue. Prince Master Bombs came in 1983. I added that when I came home from prison. You know what I mean? Because the battles that I had while I was in there, you know what I'm saying? Even roll prompters and pay, you know what I'm saying?
You gotta have a question. Give us a question.
So the question that I was at the Hip Hop Museum, and I took an excellent picture there with the graffiti on the wall. When it comes to hip hop, I have the writing on the wall. But why is it that y'all forget about us? The 70s, everybody's talking about the 80s. Like there's a whole decade that's missing.
We're gonna, our job as a museum, we're gonna go to the next person, but I hear you, brother. But the museum has documented all of hip hop from the very beginning to where we are today. So no one's gonna be left out, brother. But we have to move on. So
thank you. Prince Master Bombs,
thank you.
Y'all can hit me outside.
Thank you again. Just a question for Jude. Hello, check. Just a question for Jude. With Jukebox, so in terms of the investment, I'm just curious how you recoup, like how do you monitor that this song that's being played by the artist you invested in, if I'm supposed to see money coming back, how do I actually see the return?
So that's a great question. So what happens is, like as I mentioned, we're starting off with catalogs. So essentially these are people that have sold their shares to, say, a private equity firm. So they technically sold their rights. They're not entitled to anything anymore because they've gotten a check. Say, for example, we heard Future sold his catalog for $75 million. So let's use that as an example. What happens is the rights holder, let's make it up, Hypnosis, right? They're then the rights owner. So what happens is, we're a neutral platform, so you'll have a company like a Hypnosis, a Seeker, Primary Wave that will come to us. We'll say, list 20% of your assets. The artist has technically already sold their catalog, so they're technically not entitled to it. However, what we're doing is we're doing what's called a creator fund because we think it's important that artists should still be able to get paid off of their art. So, it's a big deal. So, for example, what's going to happen is that for every single active user that we have on the platform, we're going to give $2 to the artist. Now, what that means is if we have 1 million active users, then that means that'll be $2 million in the creator fund. And so each artist, by claiming their profile, they don't have to do anything. They'll get 10% of that. Then what will happen is it'll be based on search. So they'll be able to collect money based off of search. The way that they'll get paid is also going to be interesting. Rather than having to go and make it super complicated with the business manager, we're going to say simply put in your, list your PRO, and then that's how we'll be able to pay you directly.
All right, 2 more questions over here to you and then over there to you.
So my question is real quick. It's for Sister Tiffany. You talked about transitional wealth. You talked about wealth earlier. So my question is that how do we begin, and this is a very unpopular question for our community, particularly Hip Hop Nation, how do we begin to recycle the Hip Hop Nation dollars in our community because it only stays around 6 hours and it runs out of the community? How do we begin to have not even a conversation, an action plan to begin that process? And that's a good one for Hip Hop 51, because I know a lot of people on the panel like, what do we do for Hip Hop 51? How do we begin to recycle those dollars in our community? That's the question.
Anyone want to take that question?
So, yeah, I think I'll leave it up to everybody else too. So my name is Whitney, and I think to that point, it's going to require us to be able to buy from ourselves. You know, there's commerce, there's opportunities for us to purchase merch, you know, publications, things of that nature. It's going to take a an effort for all of us to be intentional with spending our dollars. At least I'll speak from my perspective when it comes to the jukebox, and I'll allow everybody else the opportunity to be able to share, is that seeing as though that there's hip-hop artists in the 70s and 80s who don't have a retirement fund, but you love their art, investing in their music, and then being able to make sure that they are benefiting from it as well as you as a consumer who's investing in them. So I'll leave it at that. Let anybody else jump in.
Next question.
Okay, couple. Rock, when is the museum